Hi, I'm Jeff Berkowitz, host of Public Affairs. Tonight we bring you a very special airing. Two presidential candidates in the Democratic primary. First you'll see Governor Bill Richardson from New Mexico, and then U.S. Senator Barack Obama, of course, from the state of Illinois. Let's talk a little bit about what you'll see with Governor Bill Richardson, who was here in Chicago on July 15th, the year 2007, speaking at the Association for American Justice, also known as the Trial Lawyers Association. That was its name previously. He and four other candidates for president in the Democratic primary were speaking at the Hyatt Regency. Bill Richardson is trying to break into that top tier of 8 presidential candidates. He'd like to be in that top 3. And indeed, in New Hampshire, he is polling now in 3rd place behind Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. In that state, he has passed John Edwards and is in the top tier, top 3. Nationally, he's about 7% in the polls, so he has some catch-up to do. But Bill Richardson, as we talk about and as you'll see, has great experience. He previously was congressman from New Mexico and was ambassador to the United Nations in the Clinton administration, secretary of the Department of Energy in the Clinton administration, and then, of course, went back to run for and became governor of the state of New Mexico in 2002, was reelected in 2006, and now is running to be president of the United States in the Democratic primary. He knows the issues from Iraq to North Korea to immigration to education to charter schools and vouchers to national security to terrorism. Bill Richardson's very conversant, very fluent in the issues, very relaxed in talking about them. Somewhat unusual for a Democrat, he's a tax cutter. He says that proudly in the spirit of JFK, John Fitzgerald Kennedy. He's not a gun grabber. He's somebody who favors concealed carry, and in a West state like New Mexico, that's not unusual. But he says it's not about grabbing guns. It's about education. It's about jobs. It's about health care. He wants the troops out of Iraq now. He doesn't want a residual force, as Hillary and Barack Obama have spoken about. He wants innovation and competition from charter schools. Unlike John Edwards, he says the global war on terrorism is real. It's not a bumper sticker. But he does want fewer warrantless wiretaps. Wants to follow the Constitution, he says. He was somebody who was a strong free trader, it seemed, when he was in the Clinton administration, or at least in Congress when Clinton was president. And he supported and worked hard for NAFTA. Now it sounds like not so much in terms of doesn't think NAFTA came out quite the way he had perhaps anticipated. Now views himself more as a fair trader than a free trader. So the question is, can a non-celebrity without the most money win the Democratic primary? That's what we're asking. Take a look. You watch Bill Richardson, Governor Bill Richardson. We discuss, you decide. You're watching Public Affairs. Berkowitz is my name, and politics is our game. And we will be doing politics this evening because we have as our guest Governor Bill Richardson, who is running for President of the United States in the Democratic primary. Some would refer to him as the Hispanic Barack Obama. Why? Because of his lineage, perhaps. He was born in Pasadena, California, but he grew up in Mexico City. A white banker father from Boston, a mother Mexican, and as I said, grew up in Mexico City, prep school in New England, and then Tufts as for a great school as an undergraduate, Tufts School, Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy for his master's, because he is in international relations and diplomacy for all the things he's done. 4 years in the Congress, coming in when Bill Clinton was elected to president in 1992. At the same time, Bill Richardson, congressman from New Mexico, then ambassador to the United Nations for a year and a half, and then 3 years as secretary of the Department of Energy, then governor of, elected as governor of New Mexico in 2002, and then re-elected in 2006, and now would like to be elected president of the United States. Did we get that right, Governor Bill Richardson?
You did, and you were very, very accurate. I appreciate that.
All right. Let's go right to the war. You say you want all the troops out, no residual effort. There are some people who think, you would agree, there are Al-Qaeda in Iraq now. If we leave, will it become a safe haven, even as Afghanistan was a safe haven for Al-Qaeda?
Well, the problem now, Jeff, is that our troops have become targets. and not until all our troops leave, residual forces, and I would do this over a 6-month period, let the military determine that. But I would have a diplomatic plan of, at the same time, using the leverage of a withdrawal to set up a diplomatic structure. One, a reconciliation among the 3 groups in Iraq where they divide oil revenue, divide territory, coalition government, what this government should be doing and isn't doing. Secondly, an all-Muslim peacekeeping force. And I would have Iran and Syria participate, not as a peacekeeping force, but I believe they have a special interest in doing this. They don't want refugees and chaos. And then lastly, a donor conference where other countries take over the reconstruction of Iraq. That is a plan that I believe gives Iraq a chance. Is it perfect? No. But our policy now is a disaster. It's a civil war now. It's a sectarian conflict now. We need to disengage.
Although some say, certainly all the Democrats who are running for president have criticized the president, said the surge is not a strategy, it's a tactic, no new strategy. But those who defend him say it is a counterinsurgency strategy, which is something new in this last year. Only really had the troops in place as of about 2 weeks ago, although started 4 or 5 months ago. Anwar province, which was given up as lost, now seems to have changed, is now in the American column or the Iraq column. Would you say there's been a success in Anwar province that may spread across? Would you concede there's been a new strategy in terms of counterinsurgency? Would you concede General David Petraeus is the right person for that?
Well, I believe General Petraeus is a very distinguished military leader, but the president himself has declared that the benchmarks by the Iraqi government and the progress are not being met. Some were, but the 2 principal ones are not. One, a transition for the Iraqis to take over the security is not happening. And secondly, the ability of the Iraqi government to simply have reconciliation among all the groups. It's not happening. And then you've got the Prime Minister, Maliki, saying he doesn't need American troops anymore. 62%, Jeff, of the Iraqi people are saying it's okay to shoot an American soldier. 70% of the Iraqis, the Sunni and the Shia, want us out. This is not working. The best thing to do is to protect our interests. And by the way, Al-Qaeda is getting stronger. That intelligence report, since 9/11, they have a beachhead in Iraq. The best thing to do is find ways to protect our interests, but start disengaging, because our troops have become targets, and 3,600 have perished. And what is this going to be? Another 5-6 months? Men and women are dying, and the policy is not working, so you shift. And this president doesn't see this at all, and the American people do.
What about North Korea? It looks like they've now shut down their nuclear facility. Apparently no more reprocessing, no more of the ingredient to make nuclear bombs. 6 nations were involved. Diplomacy, which this president said he wanted, did not want bilateral diplomacy. Would you say that's a success for this presidency?
Well, I give the administration credit. Finally, they talked to North Korea directly. I was in North Korea as part of an administration group 4 months ago. We got the remains of 6 of our prisoners back from the Korean War, and we pushed the North Koreans to do what you mentioned, and that is to start inviting international inspectors in to stop developing their nuclear weapons. It's going to be a long haul, but at least they're moving in the right direction. So yeah, I'll give them credit for finally seeing the light after not talking to him directly and after North Korea has 6 nuclear weapons. But yeah, I'll give them credit. I was part of that effort.
Let's go over a little bit of domestic policy. Comprehensive immigration reform appears to be dead, at least until a change in administration, at least until early 2009. Some of the critics of the comprehensive immigration bill say it died because Americans were not confident that the border control procedures that were in the bill were sufficient to actually decrease the flow of illegal immigrants into the United States across the southern border. They would say, show you can do that, don't promise inputs, show demonstrated effects, say 90% of that flow cut down, then do the earned path to citizenship. Would you go with that now in terms of, is that the best way to deal with reform given the current situation?
The best way to deal with reform is do 4 things simultaneously. And it just showed the breakdown in the immigration bill that this Congress and this president can't work together. They can't get anything done, and it's shameful. The four things you need to do is, one, you need to enforce our borders, double the number of Border Patrol agents and technology. Secondly, those that knowingly hire illegal workers should be punished. Third, get a relationship with Mexico where they stop sending a lot of their people that are desperate. Have them do some jobs for their own people. Work with Mexico to do that. And lastly, I believe you need an earned legalization plan. One that isn't amnesty, one that isn't that obeys our laws, one that isn't citizenship. What's the alternative? A deportation of 12 million people? That makes no sense. So what we should do is create a system where, over meeting certain objections, conditions, learning English, paying back taxes, paying fines for being here illegally, obeying American laws, passing a background check, getting behind those that are trying to get here legally, you need an earned legalization plan. And it's best that the Congress and the President get back together to do it, but I don't believe it'll happen.
Until 2009.
Probably won't happen until 2008, and that's going to be bad for this country.
What about a fence? Should there be a fence or a wall across the southern border? Should there be drones that help support that fence in diminishing the flow of illegal immigrants into the U.S.?
Well, there should be drones. There should be more technology.
What about the fence, though? Would you
The
support
fence
the fence?
makes no sense. The fence is a
How come?
disaster.
Why?
Well, first of all, the Congress didn't fund it. Secondly, it's a terrible symbol. America.
To keep people out who are illegal? Why was that? It's not keeping people in who want to leave. It's keeping people out who are illegal.
Well, the problem with that is it won't work, because what you'll have is a 10-foot fence, and there'll be a lot of 11-foot ladders. It's just not going to work. The best safeguard is more people. I double the number of Border Patrol trained agents. We never deploy enough people on the border. A fence is a terrible symbol, and it's also not going to work.
Let's go over to education. As a governor, no doubt you've been dealing with that issue. Many people view it as a state and local issue, but as a president, you can inspire solutions to that. You favor charter schools, is that right?
Yes, I favor charter
You
schools.
favor tax credits for parochial schools, right?
Well, I think under certain...
You have when you ran for governor. Wasn't that part of your program?
No.
You didn't favor tax credits. Michael Barone got it wrong in the almanac from American
He
Politics?
probably did.
We'll have to
but
let Michael know.
I am for charter schools. I'm for magnet schools. I'm for competition in public schools. I'm not for vouchers.
Why not?
Because it's not going to work. Because it's going to undermine public
Let me
schools.
give you an example here. Let's put that, use one cop. You know, in Chicago, I don't know what it is in New Mexico, but in Chicago, public schools, we spend $12,000 per kid per year. It's a lot of money. Take that $12,000.
You going to give it to me?
Well, your first campaign, I guess we went first campaign donation from this corner. Yeah, well, we will if you like. We're going to put it in this backpack.
Okay.
We're going to hold it here. And the proposal is, why not strap 420,000 kids in the Chicago public schools, give those 420,000 parents a backpack, they strap it on the kid. If the parents are happy with the public schools, as many are, they stay. If they're not, out goes the kid, out goes the backpack, out goes the cash. Competition, innovation occurs over time. The public schools get better. The private schools also provide innovation. A lot of rich people can go from one neighborhood to another until they find the school they want. They've got school choice. Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. went to St. Albans in Washington, D.C. Barack Obama went to a prep school. You went to a prep school. Why not give low-income people the same kind of choice that your parents had?
Well, you're on a crusade, and I respect what you say. Look, I want public schools to get better. They need competition. But I think the answer is charter schools. Let them compete with charter schools. I'm for charter schools. But and I agree,
No
there's too
vouchers,
much.
no backpack. You don't want to do that.
No, there's too much bureaucracy in the schools. I think the money from the state, from the city, should go to learning, to teacher training, not to more staff and bureaucracy. I agree with that. But I want to see competition to the public schools. I think the charter experiment is the best.
You want to see lower taxes. You came in New Mexico.
I
you
cut
lowered
taxes.
the cut taxes from 8% to 4.9, right?
Yes,
Sales
and
tax.
capital gains, and I cut
A guy
taxes
like
for
you,
businesses.
you must be for the Bush tax cuts, right?
I would not get rid of all of them. I would get rid of the 2%, but I would replace his tax cuts with tax cuts for the middle class.
So give me an income level. Would you raise taxes for families with incomes over $150,000?
That's, in some cases, middle class.
So would you
No.
wouldn't raise it for over $150,000?
Well,
raise it
I'd
for over
have to-
$200,000? What's the
Well,
number?
I got to get my plans out.
You don't know?
But I am not. No, I'm not a tax raiser. I believe in making this economy stronger, the way I did in New Mexico. We're the fifth fastest growing state in the country. We attracted renewable energy companies, movies.
So you're a tax cutter.
I'm a tax cutter, and I'm a Democrat, and you can be both. But I paid for that.
Was. John Fitzgerald.
That's right.
Cut taxes in the 60s.
Yeah, and he's my hero. But I paid for those tax cuts. The Bush tax cuts are not paid for, and we have this huge deficit.
Let me do something real quick.
Okay.
More or less? Should we have more aggressive interrogations or less?
Less.
Should we have more warrantless wiretaps involving foreign domestic calls or fewer?
Fewer, but with court orders. You can do them because we got to stop terrorism.
You believe in the global war on terrorism?
Yes, I do.
It's not a bumper sticker, as John Edwards says.
Not. I disagree with Senator Edwards and Senator Clinton.
More pressure on
serious.
Israel to deal with the Palestinians or less?
I would have a peace process. I worry about Israel. They're our main ally, but today Israel is less secure with Al-Qaeda, with Hamas, with Iran wanting to build nuclear weapons.
So more pressure or less on them to do?
I would not pressure Israel. I would work with them. I would have a Middle East peace negotiator. We don't have one. The first president not to have a Middle East peace process.
You pushed hard for NAFTA when you were there in Congress. You lobbied hard. Bill Clinton lobbied hard. You still a free trader?
Well, I'm more a fair trader. I think NAFTA, in many cases, did not work the way I wanted. I thought it would reduce immigration. I thought it would create a lot of jobs on both sides. There are a lot of problems with it. I'm now a fair trader, somebody that wants to see fair trade, but with international labor standards, child labor, environmental protection, worker protections. So I'd be a lot tougher now.
Two quick things to close. In New Mexico, you supported concealed carry.
Yeah.
Do you still support that nationally as president if you become president?
Yeah, I don't want to get into a debate on gun control. What we need in this country is instant background checks, even at gun shows. That's what I've always been for, because we can't allow those with criminal backgrounds or those that are mentally ill to have weapons. The issue is poverty, is jobs, is education, instead of wanting to take everybody's gun away.
All right, last question. You're about 7%, Hillary Clinton's 31%, and there are a few others in between you. You got 6 or 7 months till Super Tuesday. Can Bill Richardson win this, or is in to be vice president to Hillary Clinton?
No, I don't want to be vice president.
You like the Clintons, though, right? You're friends with them.
Yes.
You like Hillary? You like Bill?
Yeah, and President Clinton was very good to me, but I'm running for president. I can win. This race is far from over. It's 6 months away.
How do you get the money? They had Obama's got 31 million.
It's
in the last
not about
40
money. It's not about celebrity. It's not about glitter. It's about plans and experience and going straight with voters and grassroots. That's how I'm going to win. I don't care.
You got better experience than Hillary Clinton?
Yes, I have the best experience of any of the candidates. I've done more in diplomacy.
Combination of state and federal, right?
Sure, yeah.
There's a reason why 2 U.S. senators, and I don't know how long, became president, because none of them, as they say, ever had to do anything more than run a Senate office.
The last senator we elected president was John F. Kennedy. 7 out of the last 8 presidents have been a governor or an ex-governor. That gives me a little advantage.
It's an edge. Thank you so much, Governor Bill Richardson.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hope you enjoyed that interview with Bill Richardson. Now we go to another Democratic presidential candidate, U.S. Senator Barack Obama, in an interview that took place just about a year ago, July 22nd, the year 2006. And what you'll see is a different Barack Obama perhaps than you see when you watch this current Barack Obama running for President of the United States. He'll be talking about stabilization in Iraq, about how he might what he need to do to try to avoid all-out civil war in Iraq. This is in July of 2006. How to avoid having terrorist base set up in Iraq, avoid a meltdown, or as he put it, a complete meltdown in Iraq. Talked about what was going on at that time in terms of Lebanon and Hezbollah and Israel, missiles into Israel, and whether the Israeli action was warranted in an effort to stop those missiles from coming into Israel. And again, Barack Obama talking stability, diplomacy, and so forth, but also talking about military action when appropriate. And then talking a little bit about Iran and what was necessary there to deal with the burgeoning nuclear capability of Iran. Remember, this is all Barack Obama 6 months before he announced for President of the United States. Standing here on July 22nd, speaking with Senator Barack Obama,
who's just finished speaking to West Side businesses and business people, correct?
That had a terrific town hall meeting with a lot of business people here in the Austin community, and one of the things I've been trying to encourage is communications with my office and small businesses all across the state, because, as you know, Jeff, over half of the people who are employed in the United States are employed in small businesses, and we want to make sure that we're encouraging that kind of entrepreneurship at every level.
Let me ask you, you're also on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, right?
I am.
So you must be very involved, at least in thinking about what's going on between Hezbollah and Israel, and you just made brief reference to it. What do you think? Should there be an immediate ceasefire as the UN calls for?
Well, look, I don't fault Israel for wanting to rid the border with Lebanon with these Katyusha missiles that can fire in and harm Israeli citizens. So I think that any ceasefire would have to be premised on the removal of those missiles. Unfortunately, Lebanon does not have its own army sufficient to disarm Hezbollah militias. But one of the problems we're seeing, not just in the Middle East, but all across many parts of the world, is militias, non-state actors having access to extraordinarily powerful weaponry. And we've got to have a situation in which nation states have control of who has arms inside their borders, because it's not acceptable to have people who can launch missiles into states. Now, I think that Israel needs to show restraint in this process, and I think that Israel needs to take more initiative in dealing with the Palestinian crisis, which is different from the crisis with Hezbollah. But I think when it comes to Hezbollah, this was initiated by Hezbollah, and the fact of the matter is that Israel has a legitimate interest in not having missiles aimed at towns all across its borders.
Looks like it's U.S. policy to wait a week or two, give the Israelis a few weeks perhaps to create a buffer zone in southern Lebanon and let them go in and try to find the Hezbollah and remove those missiles. Is that the U.S. policy, and would you support that?
Well, I don't think that we should wait to engage. Part of the problem here is that the United States has been disengaged from relationships between Israel and the Palestinians, or Israel and Lebanon, dealing with Syria and some of the others who are using Hezbollah as proxies. And the results over the last 5 years have not been good. So I think policies of engagement as opposed to disengagement, direct talks where necessary, tough talk, but nevertheless being part of the process of trying to come up with more equitable approaches to the issues in the Middle East. I think all that is important. I don't think that we should suffer terrorists in these regions, but we also have to recognize that the hearts and minds of the Arab world are the battlefield now. It's not just arms. It's also creating environments where moderate Arabs, those who want to embrace a modern economy, are encouraged. And we've been so bogged down in Iraq and so focused on the use of force as the only tool in the toolkit, as opposed to just one of the tools in the toolkit, that I think that we've missed some opportunities to bring about a more stable situation in the region.
Do you think Iran is behind this, that using Syria, they are stirring up Hezbollah as a way of trying to distract the world community and the U.S. from dealing with their issue, which is doing something about the burgeoning and likely nuclear capability of Iran? Is Iran using this as a distraction? Are they behind this?
Well, I have no evidence of this. We know that Iran historically has provided material support to Hezbollah. We also know that Iran is trying to develop at least nuclear capacity. Whether they're actually intent on taking it all the way to a nuclear bomb is suspected but not confirmed. My attitude is that we should, rather than rattling sabers and threatening nuclear bombs of Iran, should be in a process of gathering our allies like China and Russia to put pressure on Iran, but also tell Iran, if you behave yourself, if you are not exporting terrorism, then we're not interested in regime change just for the sake of regime change. And I think that unfortunately that's not the message that we've been sending. All right, Jeff?
One last thing just on Iraq, because you mentioned Iraq, and July 22nd Wall Street Journal column that we talked about briefly before, Milton Friedman's interviewed there and mentions that he agrees with you that it was a mistake to go into Iraq. But he says once there, it's important that we succeed. And I know you said that before, that you can't just get out, even though you vigorously argued against getting in. But as of July 22nd, 2006, it is still the case that you think it's important that we succeed in Iraq.
Well, I think that it is important for us to stabilize Iraq. I think the measure of success should be that there is not an all-out civil war, that there is not terrorist bases inside Iraq, that there has not been a meltdown of Iraq that draws its borders, draws its neighbors into escalating conflict. That should be our criteria, and I think that can still be accomplished, although it is getting tougher and tougher because increasingly what we're seeing is sectarian warfare as opposed to insurgency as the primary source of instability.
All right, thank you so much, Senator Barack Obama.
All right.
Hope you enjoyed that show. We got two great candidates there, two Democratic candidates for president, Governor Bill Richardson and U.S. Senator Barack Obama. They are two of the 8 candidates in the Democratic primary, and they provide quite a contrast, as you've seen. Of course, Barack Obama was from a year ago. Bill Richardson, depending on when you see this, perhaps just a week or two ago. But nevertheless, you can see the contrast. You got the experience of Bill Richardson, tremendous experience as congressman, as governor, as a part of the Clinton administration. You got Barack Obama, tremendous excitement, a little bit less national experience, as basically in his 3rd year as U.S. Senator. And, you know, the question people are asking is, can that excitement carry Barack Obama past John Edwards and past Hillary Clinton to be President of the United States? Can the experience of Bill Richardson bring him back? He says he's not a celebrity, he doesn't have the most money, but can he come back? And some would say now, at least the polls show, he's running 3rd in the polls in New Hampshire, so that's quite an accomplishment for Bill Richardson. Barack Obama, Bill Richardson, two very interesting candidates in the Democratic primary for the United States. Indeed, as we said, perhaps Bill Richardson is an Hispanic Barack Obama. Both of those individuals have very interesting lineage, and in that sense, there's some similarity between Barack Obama and Bill Richardson. Either would be historic in terms of being elected to president. Barack Obama, the first African-American president of the United States, and Bill Richardson, the first Hispanic president of the United States. So we ask, you know, can he win? Can Barack win? Can Bill Richardson win? We discuss, you decide.